again. Ladies, gentlemen, and brethren, thank you. We're not actually starting quite yet. We've got a few more minutes. I just wanted to make some housekeeping announcements. For those of you that might have dashed in at the last minute, restrooms are out through the 2 exit doors, round to that side or round to that side. If you need to go out at any time during the ceremony, please just get up quietly and leave via one of the exits. Can you please make sure that any electronic devices are off, please? We don't want to hear phones going off in the middle of the ceremony. It can be very distracting. Secondly, there is official photography happening, so if you're going to take any pictures using smartphones, etc., no flash photography, please. It could cause a few problems. During the ceremony, there are only 3 occasions where I require those of you seated back there. So ladies, gentlemen, and brethren, only when I actually say, ladies, gentlemen, and brethren, please, all please rise. That's the only time you rise. And it happens 3 times. It happens when we bring the Grand Master in. So I will ask you to rise to receive him. It happens when we've brought in the delegations, the Sister Sovereign Constitution delegations. At that point, I'll ask you to rise and sing Advance Australia Fair, first verse only. The 3rd time will be on exit, so when we finish and everyone leaves the ballroom. So it's just those 3 occasions. So the brethren in the audience, please, when I keep saying the brethren will rise, I don't want to see you all getting up or doing grand honours or anything else. Please just remain seated. The same goes for the grand officers sat over here. Brethren, if you weren't at rehearsals, you do not get up and down except when I tell you to. Please. The only other thing that I've been asked to comment on is emergency evacuation procedures if something should happen. Make your way out to the exit doors. There will be hotel security staff, etc., on hand at the time to tell you where to go, but basically the exit point is the back end of the hotel, down through the piece outside and out onto Langley Park, the big grassed area across the road. So if the worst should happen, that's where you all disappear to as quickly as you can. Thank you all. Hope you have a good evening. We'll start in just a couple of moments. Thank you. Ladies, gentlemen, and brethren, to receive the Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Western Australia, of ancient, free, and accepted Masons, Most Worshipful Brother Dr. William Gordon Babe, all please rise. The brethren will adopt the sign of fidelity.
Thank you.
I'm sure.
Yep, come on.
Worshipful Grand Master, the members of Grand Lodge are ready to receive you.
Grand Director of Ceremonies, please lead us in.
Brethren, ready. Past Grand Masters. Past Deputy Grand Masters. Grand Wardens. Ladies, gentlemen, and brethren, please be seated.
I welcome them first up, don't I? I welcome them before we start. Brethren, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming this evening, and it's a great pleasure to me personally to see this room so full. I would like to welcome all those who have travelled international, interstate, and I'd particularly like to say that my son Gordon, worshipful brother Gordon Babe, is sitting in the front row with his wife. They wouldn't let him on with his jewels on the flight, but he does have some. And of course my wife Kelly, who has been my support and my rock over the last 3 years. And I trust we have a wonderful night of brotherly love and affection, and that this continues into the future in this Grand Lodge. Thank you very much. Brethren, assist me to open Grand Lodge. Brother Grand Pursuivant, where is your situation in Grand Lodge?
Within the inner porch of Grand Lodge, Most Worshipful Grand Master.
What is your duty?
To give a due report of all approaching brethren, to see that they are suitably clothed and ranged under their respective banners.
Do you find them so placed?
To the best of my knowledge, Most Worshipful Grand Master.
Where is the situation of the Junior Grand Warden?
In the south, Most Worshipful Grand Master.
Brother Junior Grand Warden, whom do you represent?
Boaz, the Prince of the people on Mount Tabor.
Where is the situation of the Senior Grand Warden?
In the west, Most Worshipful Grand Master.
Brother Senior Grand Warden, whom do you represent?
Jarkin, the Assistant High Priest on Mount Sinai.
Where is the situation of the Deputy Grand Master?
To the right of the Most Worshipful Grand Master.
Brother Deputy Grand Master, whom do you represent?
Hiram Abiff, the Prince of Architects.
What is your duty?
To lay schemes, draw designs, to assist the Most Worshipful Grand Master in the execution of the work.
Where is the situation of the Most Worshipful Grand Master?
In the East Most Worshipful Grand Master,
Whom does he represent?
the Royal Solomon.
Then, brethren, when the Grand Chaplain has invoked the blessing of the Most High, I will, in the name of the Royal Solomon, declare this Grand Lodge open in ample form.
This Grand Lodge being duly formed, before it is declared open, let us invoke the blessings of the great architect of the universe on all our undertakings. May our labours thus begun in order, be conducted in harmony and closed in peace.
So mote it be.
Brethren, in the name of the Royal Solomon, I declare this Grand Lodge open in ample form.
Brethren, you will join in singing the opening ode, and ladies, brethren in the audience, please join in and help. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Brethren, you will salute the Grand Master with grand honours 9 times, taking the time from the Assistant Grand Director of Ceremonies.
Thank you, brethren, for your welcome into the lodge room this evening, and we'll get on with the job in hand to make sure that I become a feather duster as soon as possible. Thank you.
Brethren, be seated.
Grand rank is conferred upon those brethren as detailed in the official program. I would just like to say a few words about the people who have been given grand rank. Grand rank is a very mysterious process. It doesn't necessarily always give grand rank to the people who are totally deserving, but it does give grand rank to those who have either risen to the surface and been seen by me personally, or by my representatives, or by the District Grand Inspector of Workings. So everybody who's been detailed in that program has to some extent helped Freemasonry in their local lodges and in the craft as a whole. And I thank them for the work that they have done, and I hope they enjoy the preferment that they have been given. By the Grand Director of Ceremonies, I am now prepared to receive our distinguished visitors.
The distinguished district grand delegations are ready to enter Grand Lodge, Most Worshipful Grand Master.
I will receive them with pleasure.
Brethren, Brethren, to receive the distinguished district grand delegations, you will rise. Most Worshipful Grand Master, I have the honour to present the Grand Superintendent of the District Grand Royal Arch Chapter of Western Australia, holding under the Supreme Grand Royal Arch Chapter of Scotland, Most Excellent Companion Gary Jones, Honorary Grand Chancellor of Scotland, Honorary Past Grand Jesuit of Western Australia.
Nice to see you, Gary. Give us a couple of fingers that you've got left. Thank you.
Most Worshipful Grand Master, I introduce Most Excellent Companion Terry Brown. Most Excellent Companion Arthur Barnes, past District Grand Superintendent. Past Grand Superintendent. Most Excellent Companion Ken Taylor, past Grand Superintendent. Most Worshipful Grand Master, I have the honour to present the Right Worshipful District Grand Master of the District Grand Lodge of Western Australia Goldfields, under the Grand Lodge of Ancient Free and Accepted Masons of Scotland, Brother Charles Dalton, Honorary Junior Grand Warden, Scotland. Most Worshipful Grand Master, I introduce Brother David Davison, Depute District Grand Master. The brethren will remain standing while the Grand Officers proceed to their seats. Most Worshipful Grand Master, I have the honour to present the Right Worshipful District Grand Master of the District Grand Lodge of Western Australia, under the Grand Lodge of Ancient Free and Accepted Masons of Scotland, Brother Kevin Mackay, Honorary Junior Grand Warden, Scotland. Most Worshipful Grand Master, I introduce Brother George Rogers, past District Grand Master. Brother Ron Kirkwood, past District Grand Master. The brethren will remain standing while the District Grand Officers proceed to their seats. All brethren of the rank of past Deputy Grand Master and above, please be seated. Brethren, this Grand Lodge having been privileged to receive the distinguished District Grand Delegations, you will now honour their leaders by saluting them with grand honours 7 times, taking the time from the Assistant Grand Director of Ceremonies. Brethren, be seated. Most Worshipful Grand Master, the distinguished leaders and delegations of sister sovereign constitutions are ready to enter Grand Lodge.
I will receive them with pleasure.
Brethren, to receive the distinguished leaders and delegations of sister sovereign constitutions, you will rise and adopt the sign of fidelity. Most Worshipful Grand Master, I have the honour to present the first principal of the Supreme Grand Royal Arch Chapter of Western Australia, Most Eminent Companion Anthony Whelan, Grand Zerubbabel. Most Worshipful Grand Master, I introduce the Deputy First Grand Principal, Right Eminent Companion Richard Joyce, Deputy Grand Zerubbabel. Most Worshipful Grand Master, I have the pleasure to announce, the pleasure to present the representative of the Regular Grand Lodge of Ancient, Free and Accepted Masons of Italy, Right Worshipful Brother Nicholas Emerton Court, Past Assistant Grand Master. The brethren will remain standing while the Grand Officers proceed to their seats. Most Worshipful Grand Master, I have the honour to present the representative of the Grand Master of the Grand Lodge Nationale Française, Right Worshipful Brother Jean-Pierre Flotat, Provincial Grand Master of the Provincial Grand Lodge of New Caledonia under the Grand Lodge Nationale Française. Most Worshipful Grand Master, I introduce Right Worshipful Brother Christian Giuvini, Deputy Provincial Grand Master. Most Worshipful Grand Master, I have the honour to present the Grand Master of the Grand Lodge, or United Grand Lodge of Queensland, Most Worshipful Brother Alan Townsend. Most Worshipful Grand Master, I introduce Right Worshipful Brother Paul Holland, Deputy Grand Master. Most Worshipful Brother Gary Bacon, Past Grand Master. Brethren, you will remain standing while the grand officers proceed to their seats. Most Worshipful Grand Master, I have the honour to present the Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Tasmania, Most Worshipful Brother John Slaw. Most Worshipful Grand Master, I introduce Right Worshipful Brother Philip Oddy, Deputy Grand Master. Most Worshipful Grand Master, I have the honour to present the Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of New Zealand, Most Worshipful Brother Mark Winger. Most Worshipful Grand Master, I introduce Right Worshipful Brother Graham Wrigley, Deputy Grand Master. Brethren, you will remain standing while the Grand Officers proceed to their seats. Most Worshipful Grand Master, I have the honour to present the Grand Master of the United Grand Lodge of Victoria, Most Worshipful Brother Keith Murray. Most Worshipful Grand Master, I introduce Right Worshipful Brother Richard Elkington, Deputy Grand Master. Most Worshipful Brother Donald Reynolds, Past Grand Master. Most Worshipful Brother Robert Jones, Past Grand Master. Most Worshipful Grand Master, I have the honour to present the Grand Master of the United Grand Lodge of New South Wales and Australian Capital Territory, Most Worshipful Brother Derek Robson, AM. Most Worshipful Grand Master, I introduce Most Worshipful Brother James Melville, Past Grand Master. Brethren, you remain standing while the Grand Officers proceed to their seats. Most Worshipful Grand Master, I have the honour to present the Grand Master of the Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Ancient, Free and Accepted Masons of South Australia and Northern Territory, Most Worshipful Brother Dr. Neil Jensen. Most Worshipful Grand Master, I introduce Right Worshipful Brother Robert Klein, OAM, Assistant Grand Master. The brethren will remain standing while the Grand Officers proceed to their seats. Brethren, this Grand Lodge having been privileged to receive distinguished leaders and delegations of sister sovereign constitutions, you will now honour their leaders by saluting them with grand honours 9 times, taking the time from the Assistant Grand Director of Ceremonies. Ladies, gentlemen, and brethren, all please rise and join in singing the first verse of the Australian National Anthem. Ladies, gentlemen, and brethren, please be seated.
Distinguished visitors, distinguished brethren, ladies and gentlemen, I, as Grand Master, for a matter of only a few remaining minutes, would like to welcome all our delegations from interstate and overseas. It is particularly heartening to see this room at near its legal capacity, and I trust this is in no small measure due to the harmony that has developed rapidly in this Constitution, combined with the ability of our brethren to travel and network not only within Australasia and Oceania, but also Southeast Asia. We have, as a sovereign constitution, passed through 3 years of rapid fiscal rationalisation, constitutional change, and indeed, I believe, a generational change within our hierarchy. I stand with a foot in both generations, but my successors are much younger and I hope the work we have begun will continue to see our constitution prosper over the next decade. We have commenced a significant increase in the membership of younger brethren, and to retain these brethren in our craft, we need to remain relevant, dynamic, and increase our presence in the community. Our aged care charitable activities via Masonic Care WA make us the 5th largest not-for-profit aged care provider in Western Australia. Our Grand Lodge and Masonic Foundation charitable activities now have sound financial footings, and what we own comes without debt. Both organisations, through specific enterprises, are poised for growth, and it will give me great pleasure in 5 or so years to attend the opening of a truly grand new Masonic complex, which will be feasible if we continue on the financial path we are taking. I think the greatest success to me personally has been the Memorandum of Understanding I have entered with the First Grand Principal of the Supreme Grand Royal Arch Chapter of Western Australia, most eminent companion Anthony Whelan, to make the marked degree available to Master Masons of any age or experience. It has been an unfulfilled need of mine since 1994, when I initially received my mark, to see it as part of craft masonry and not a separate degree. It has given me great personal joy to see Masons of all ages come up to me proudly wearing their marked jewel and thank me for opening a new world up to them. Most seem to be continuing on and completing their excellent and Royal Arch degrees, but there is no necessity to do this if they do not so wish. Thank you for your 3 years as Deputy Grand Master, and thank you for your support during my 3 years as Grand Master. It's been a ball, but it is time for new blood of the next generation to take over. Thank you for supporting me and my team, and for finding the happy place in which most of us seem to have become accustomed. I wish the new Grand Master and his team health, wealth and happiness, and to continue to lead us in a positive and fruitful manner. And it's goodbye from me.
A response to the Most Worshipful Grand Master's greetings will be given by the Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Ancient Free and Accepted Masons of South Australia and Northern Territory, Most Worshipful Brother Dr. Neil Jensen.
We're on? Well. Thank you. Most Worshipful Grand Master, fellow Grand Masters, past Grand Masters, distinguished guests, ladies, gentlemen, and brethren. Thank you, all of you, for the warmth of the welcome which you've extended to your visitors. As we gather here today, Freemasonry, that wonderful, voluntary, ancient and traditional organisation, once again exhibits the great summation quality of brotherly love. We have travelled from afar to be with you and to share in the pleasures and privileges of this national and international association of like minds. All of us believe in the great architect of the universe, and all endeavour to enhance life around us for the good of mankind in general. Most Worshipful Brother Babe, we have come here today to share your emotions and to be with you as you install your successor, Right Worshipful Brother Peter Kirwan. We may have travelled vast distances to be here, but the road to a friend is always short. We thank you for the wisdom, strength of mind, and persuasive eloquence which you have shared with us during your leadership. It is written that one cannot choose the frame of one's destiny, but one can choose what one puts in it. You have chosen well, and we have enjoyed a masterpiece. We all look forward to the many years ahead, during which we can continue to share your and your Grand Lodge's Masonic friendship. Thank you, and may God bless you all.
Worshipful Brother Grand Secretary, you will read to me the certificate of election of the Grand Master-elect.
Most worshipful Grand Master, before doing so, as requested, it will give me great pleasure to read a significant apology for this evening. It is a letter from Kensington Palace, and it's addressed to our CEO, dear Ms. MacDonald. Thank you for your letter from Freemasons Western Australia of the 9th of April, inviting His Royal Highness the Duke of Sussex to attend the grand installation of Grand Master-elect, Right Worshipful Brother Peter Francis Kirwan at the Hyatt Hotel in Perth in October. As you know, their Royal Highnesses are visiting Australia at that time for the Invictus Games, but unfortunately on this occasion they will not be travelling to Western Australia. Thank you very much for writing as you did, and I send best wishes to the Grand Lodge of Western Australia for the ceremony and celebration. Yours sincerely, Samantha Cohen, Private Secretary to the Royal Highnesses, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. That arrived a couple of weeks ago, Grand Master. Ladies, gentlemen and brethren, this is to certify that in accordance with the Constitution of the Grand Lodge of Western Australia, under Clause 20, Right Worshipful Brother Peter Francis Kirwan has been elected to the position of Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Ancient, Free and Accepted Masons of Western Australia, Incorporated, on Friday the 15th of April 2018, subject to his installation on Friday the 26th of October 2018, for the ensuing 3 years or until his successor shall have been duly elected and installed in his stead. Signed under my hand, Right Worshipful Brother Ernest Law, Grand Secretary.
Brother Grand Director of Ceremonies, you will now withdraw with 6 Worshipful Masters for the purpose of escorting the Worshipful Master-elect into the Grand Master-elect into Grand Lodge.
Most Worshipful installing Grand Master. The Grand Master-elect is ready to enter Grand Lodge.
Grand Director of Ceremonies, I will receive him with pleasure.
Brethren, to receive the Grand Master-elect, you will all rise and adopt the sign of fidelity. Right Worshipful Brother Kirwan, the members of Grand Lodge and the visitors are ready to receive you.
Thank you, Worshipful Brother Director of Ceremonies. It's an honour and a pleasure to be accompanied by these brethren.
Brethren, ready. Most Worshipful Grand Master, I have the honour to present Right Worshipful Brother Peter Francis Kirwan, Grand Master-elect of this Grand Lodge, to receive at your hands the benefit of installation.
Brother Grand Director of Ceremonies, it will give me great pleasure to attend to your presentation. Brethren, you here behold Right Worshipful Brother Peter Francis Kirwan, who has been duly elected to preside over the craft of this jurisdiction. And now I request that he declares himself ready for installation to that high office.
I do.
Right Worshipful Brother Kirwan, you are here in the presence of all here assembled, presented to me for installation to that high position. But before we continue with this most important undertaking, let us invoke on our proceedings the blessing of the Most High.
Brethren, you will assume the attitude of reverence.
Vouchsafe thine aid, Almighty Father and Supreme Ruler of the universe, to this our solemn rite, and grant that this worthy and distinguished brother, who is about to become the Grand Master of this Grand Lodge, endure him with wisdom to comprehend and direct the lodge. May God grant him wisdom to comprehend and induce his brethren to be true and faithful brethren, and to guide them through the fellowship of this organisation. So mote it be.
Prior to your installation, to take a solemn obligation binding you to a faithful performance of the duties of that high office. Are you willing to take it?
I am.
Then you will kneel on both knees, place both hands on the volume of the sacred law, and take the obligation of a Grand Master. Brethren, you will assume the attitude of reverence.
I, Peter Francis Kirwan, before Almighty God, in the presence of Almighty God and before the Grand Lodge of Western Australia, do solemnly promise and declare that I will perform the duties of Grand Master in this Grand Lodge during my term of office, and that I will conform to and maintain the Constitution, rules and regulations of the Grand Lodge of Western Australia and the usages and customs of ancient, free and accepted Masons, and that I will, at all times, enforce strict obedience thereto, so help me God.
As a pledge of your fidelity to this solemn obligation, you will seal it with your lips on the volume of the sacred law. Rise, duly obligated, most worshipful Grand Master. I clothe you with this badge of office. And with this jewel, the symbolic meaning of which will have a new and striking significance to you. I present you with this neck jewel as it was presented to me by my predecessor and to him by his. Wear it with pride. You will also note that it is the jewel of our second Grand Master, most worshipful brother, John Winthrop Hackett. I now place you in the chair of King Solomon, thus surrendering to you the seat of Masonic authority. As a potent reminder of your Masonic authority, I give to you this gavel, which in your hands should never be sounded in vain. I now pronounce you Most Worshipful Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Western Australia of Ancient, Free and Accepted Masons. Behold your new Grand Master.
Brethren, you will join in singing the ode. Brethren, be seated.
Done. The black hole came a couple of times.
Now you get the other bit. Get the next bit.
Let me congratulate you, Most Worshipful Grand Master, on the high station to which you have been raised. The office of Grand Master is one of great antiquity and dignity and carries with it powers and prerogatives that are well nigh absolute. The interests of the craft in this state have been placed in your hands. To rule has been the lot of many, but to rule well depends in no small way on the use of those powers and prerogatives in carrying out your great and solemn responsibilities. May the Father of light, of life and of love invest you with his choicest gifts. May you be endued with the full competency of that wisdom which so highly distinguished King Solomon, whose chief representative you now are. May your feet rest upon the rock of justice, and late, very late in life, may you be translated from the fading honours of an earthly lodge to the mansion prepared for the faithful in another and better world. Grand Director of Ceremonies, you will now proclaim the Grand Master.
All brethren will rise. Most worshipful brethren, right worshipful brethren, very worshipful brethren, worshipful brethren, and brethren, I have been instructed to make proclamation. Therefore be it known that most worshipful brother Peter Francis Kirwan has this day been invested, installed, and is hereby proclaimed Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Western Australia of Ancient, Free and Accepted Masons for the ensuing 3 years. And I call upon you to salute him with grand honours 9 times, taking the time from the Assistant Grand Director of Ceremonies. Brethren, you will join in singing the ode. Brethren, be seated.
Most worshipful Grand Masters, most worshipful brethren, right worshipful, very worshipful, and brethren, ladies, gentlemen, family and friends. As I stand before you as a new Grand Master, the first thing I'd like to do is thank those who have made this all possible. To most worshipful Brother Bill Babe, thank you for the opportunity to be your deputy and also for your courage and leadership, especially of the past 3 years. To my family, especially my wife Lorraine, without your support, encouragement and constant reality checks, I would not even have considered taking on this role. To my daughter and her family, especially my grandson, Ashton, you are a constant reminder the family should always be our first priority. And a special reminder to Ashton, Grandpa is still the champion at Monopoly. If my father were alive, I would have thanked him. I would have thanked him for introducing me into Freemasonry. And I'm sure that when he initiated me into the Lodge of Southern Compass, of which there are quite a few members here today, he never would have thought I would end up in this role. It's great to see my brother, John, here representing my family with his wife, Stella, and his son, Dane. That family has actually had, I'm now the 4th generation of West Australian Freemasons from our family. I will be giving further thanks to my extended family tomorrow night at the banquet. A special thanks to the Grand Director of Ceremonies and his team for the ceremony today. I know exactly what you've been through. It hasn't finished yet, by the way. I also like to thank the staff of Grand Lodge, ML, Will, and especially Cherie Evans, who has gone above and beyond their duties, especially to Cherie, as today is her birthday. That's thanks to you and your husband and your family for allowing us to take up so much of your time, especially on this important day. To the brethren of the West Australian Constitution, I thank you for the trust you have placed in me by electing me your Grand Master. You can be assured I'll make every endeavour to make sure that trust has not been misplaced. So, what am I going to do as a Grand Master? I intend to work with a far range of brethren throughout the Constitution. I'll be forming several advisory bodies or panels to assist me in various issues, such as, but not limited to, education, public relations, the granting of grand rank, both active and conferred, the development and maintenance of day lodges, ethics and equality, and this will look at such issues surrounding any possible discrimination based on religion, race, or sexual preference, and many other issues. These advisory panels will work with me directly and then report up to the Board of Grand Lodge for any necessary confirmation of any policies. Brethren, I will be adopting a theme during my term of office of education and enjoyment. Let's look at the enjoyment part first. I want not just the brethren to enjoy their Freemasonry, but I want their family and friends to enjoy it as well. I will encourage every lodge to make as many efforts they can to have the women and family involved in the lodges by including them in festive boards and as many activities as they possibly can. Even if you have to join other lodges or other orders to create a beneficial and successful social event. I also want the new brethren to enjoy their time within the lodge room by encouraging training in the various roles within the lodges and try to eliminate that cringe factor that some older brethren inflict when they just sit back and criticise and don't offer any constructive comment. This leads us to the education. Education is the two parts, internal and external. Internally, we need to facilitate workshops for brethren to learn about the various roles within our lodges, to cover areas such as deacons, director of ceremonies, masters and the wardens in their leadership, lodge secretaries, especially working with a new database, lodge membership officers, and issues like public speaking and other matters. To this end, I've requested our new incoming Deputy Grand Inspector of Workings, Right Bush Brother John Grieve, to work with our new Grand Inspector to organise a special training and development weekend. We're possibly having the last weekend in February for this. And this will allow our brethren from across the state to come to one central point and join together to get involved with several workshops to be held over that weekend. This will be followed up by workshops throughout the state when and where is necessary. Externally, we need to educate the public with regards to Freemasonry and what Freemasonry is. We need to encourage the media so that they see the positive aspects of Freemasonry. We need to approach schools and offer talks in Freemasonry. We need to get the emblems of Freemasonry out into the public eye so it becomes an emblem that the public can relate to and automatically associate with values such as justice, integrity, goodwill, and charity. Ladies and gentlemen, brethren, we need to correct our standing in the community. Currently, as Freemasons, we contribute in Western Australia over $1 million into our community. Over the past 6 years, we, as Freemasons in Western Australia, have contributed over $8 million to our community. We, as Freemasons, have contributed over $500,000 a year in subsidised housing to seniors. We, as Freemasons, have contributed over $200,000 a year in subsidised leases to charitable organisations. We, as Freemasons, have contributed hundreds of thousands of dollars in direct support from individual lodges to various community groups. We, as Freemasons, have granted several $1,000s worth of education grants to several young members of our society. We as Freemasons have supported the Men's Shed of WA. We as Freemasons have supported institutions like the Fiona Woods Foundation. We as Freemasons have supported the Young Achievers Awards. And we as Freemasons have contributed to many, many other causes across our community. But while we do this, we're often classed as a secret society and rarely get any recognition. We are not a secret society, for if we are, we're not doing a very good job. This is an open ceremony. You can drive past Masonic buildings and see our square and compass. You can see people wearing and lapel badges, wearing it on their shirts. So we're not very good at keeping those secrets. But we do have secrets, however. This is to ensure the integrity of our individual members. It also goes to ensure the integrity of our organisation across the world. Freemasonry is not for everyone. We are about making good men better. We don't look at the colour of a man's skin. We don't look and judge a man based on which God he prays to. We don't judge a man based on his education or how well he speaks. We don't judge a man based on his income. We look for a man who has characteristics such as goodwill, mercy, justice, and has charity and goodwill in his heart. When we find such a man, we can offer him a fraternity that contains members that hold the same principles and values. And as a collective, we can offer to better ourselves and also our community, especially those less fortunate than us. I'd now like to break a bit of protocol and ask all members of the West Australian Constitution in this room to please rise. Brethren, I'd like to thank you for the efforts you have made over many, many years, not just in your own lodge, not just to Grand Lodge, not just to Freemasonry in general, but to the community of Western Australia as a whole. Brethren, I am extremely proud of what you have done in the past, what you do now, and what we will do together in the future. Brethren, I am proud to be your Grand Master. Brethren, I thank you and I salute you, and I'd like you to be seated, please. Brethren, thank you, and may your God go with you. Peter. Please present to me Most Worshipful Brother Bill Babe.
Most Worshipful Brother Dr. Bill Babe, would you please join me? Don't look so worried.
Most Worshipful Brother Babe, this item of harmony that's about to appear is in your honour. Please come forward and turn about.
Get you to stay here. Turn and face the west. I'm going to watch from a safe distance over there. Enjoy. floor put back down.
On behalf of Manawa Mai Tawiti, we'd like to thank you all for having us here tonight to share in this auspicious occasion. It's a great honour to be here amongst you all, and we just hope you enjoy this little piece of New Zealand as much as you've enjoyed this piece of New Zealand.
Very good, very, very good.
My bro there in the middle, I think he needs a little bit more kai in his puku. He's,
And I've got to follow that. It's a bit of a hard act to follow, yes.
Thank you for the little surprise, Worshipful Grandmaster. My grandmother and my great-grandfather were native school teachers, and my grandmother could speak fluent Maori, and she could swear very, very well in fluent Maori as well. But yes.
This is some token of respect that your constitution holds
My
you.
eyes are the same as yours. You're wanting me to retire back to New Zealand, obviously.
Your patients couldn't afford you to go.
Ladies, gentlemen, and brethren, if we can, we will now continue with the ceremony. Something that I... Sorry?
Could you put your clothes back on?
Well, I haven't quite got the figure for it. Not quite. Something that I forgot to ask right at the very beginning is if those of you in the audience, especially the ladies, can help us with the singing. The brethren don't have very good voices. You probably noticed that. And it would please our organist no end if you were to raise your voices and sing in the remaining odes as they come up, please. Thank you.
I appoint Very Worshipful Brother Daniel Lewis Gannon as Deputy Grand Master. By the Grand Director Ceremonies, you will present to me Very Worshipful Brother Gannon for investiture as Deputy Grand Master.
Most Worshipful Grand Master, I have the honour to present Very Worshipful Brother Daniel Lewis Gannon.
You will kneel on both knees. Place both hands on the volume of the sacred law and take the obligation of the Deputy Grand Master.
All brethren will rise and assume the attitude of reverence.
I, Daniel Lewis Gannon, in the presence of Almighty God and before the Grand Lodge of Western Australia, do solemnly promise and declare that to the best of my ability, I will honestly, faithfully and impartially perform the duties of Deputy Grand Master in this jurisdiction during my term of office, and that I will conform to and maintain the Constitution, rules and regulations of the Grand Lodge of Western Australia and the usages and customs of ancient, free and accepted Masons, and that I will at all times ensure strict obedience thereto. So help me God.
As a pledge of your fidelity to solemn obligation, you'll salute the volume of the sacred law with your lips. Rise, duly obligated Deputy Grand Master. The office to which you have been appointed is of great dignity and importance. More importantly, particularly in the death, incapacity or absence of the Grand Master, the powers and privileges of that office devolve upon you. Right Worshipful Brother David Gannon, would you care to join me on the floor while I invest your son as our new Deputy Grand Master? I clothe you with the badge. And invest you with the jewel of Deputy Grand Master. I invest you with this collarette jewel, which was invested to me by Most Worshipful Brother Bill Bate. Right Worshipful Brother David Gannon, I give you the honour to be the first to congratulate our newly invested Deputy Grand Master. seated on my right. Aid me with your counsel.
Brethren, be seated.
Brother Grand Director of Ceremonies, you will proclaim the Deputy Grand Master.
All brethren below the rank of past Pro Grand Master will rise. Right worshipful brethren, very worshipful brethren, worshipful brethren and brethren, I have been instructed to make proclamation. Therefore be it known that Right Worshipful Brother Daniel Lewis Gannon has this day been appointed, invested, and is hereby proclaimed Deputy Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Western Australia of Ancient, Free and Accepted Masons for the ensuing 12 months. And I call upon you to salute him with grand honours 7 times, taking the time from the Assistant Grand Director of Ceremonies. Brethren, you will all rise and join in singing the ode. Be seated.
I appoint Right Worshipful Brother Michael William Berman, Senior Grand Warden, Very Worshipful Brother Clifford Christopher Hope Jr., Junior Grand Warden, and the Grand Officers as their names appear on the official program. By the Grand Director of Ceremonies, you will present to me the Grand Wardens for investiture.
Most Worshipful Grand Master, I present Right Worshipful Brother Michael William Berryman.
I clothe you with the badge and invest you with the jewel of Senior Grand Warden of this Grand Lodge. And on behalf of all present, I congratulate you. I place you in this chair and give into your hands this gavel. It is your duty to facilitate the designs of the Grand Master and see that his commands are carried into full and permanent effect. In this position, you represent Jarkin.
Most Worshipful Grand Master, I present Very Worshipful Brother Clifford Christopher Hope, Jr.
I clothe you with the badge and invest you with the jewel of Junior Grand Warden of this Grand Lodge. You saw that. On behalf of all those present, I congratulate you. I place you in this chair. And give into your hands this gavel. It is your duty to adorn the work with your powers of genius in active industry. In this position, you represent Boaz, but I'd like to add a further charge for you. As you are affectionately known as Bozo in this constitution, I charge you to continue with the humour and encouragement you have to the harmony of all our ceremonies. Brother Grand Director of Ceremonies. You will proclaim the Grand Wardens.
With the exception of the Grand Wardens, all brethren below the rank of past Deputy Grand Master will rise. Right, worshipful brethren, very worshipful brethren, worshipful brethren, and brethren, I have been instructed to make proclamation, therefore be it known, that Right Worshipful Brother Michael William Berryman and Right Worshipful Brother Clifford Christopher Hope have this day been appointed, invested, and are hereby proclaimed Senior Grand Warden and Junior Grand Warden respectively of the Grand Lodge of Western Australia of Ancient Free and Accepted Masons for the ensuing 12 months. And I call upon you to salute them with grand honours 5 times, taking the time from the Assistant Grand Director of Ceremonies. Brethren, be seated.
I request the Deputy Grand Master to assist me in the investiture of the newly appointed and reappointed Grand Officers.
Brother Grand Director of Ceremonies, you will present the Grand Officers for investiture.
The newly appointed and reappointed Grand Officers will rise. You will now assemble for investiture, taking direction from the escorting marshal. Fidelity when you cross the lodge, brethren. Brethren, you will turn to the east. Right Worshipful Deputy Grand Master, the Grand Officers are assembled for investiture. Grand Officers, you will salute the Grand Master with the sign of fidelity. Turn to your right and return to your seats and remain standing, taking direction from the Assistant Grand Director of Ceremonies. Fidelity, brethren. Brethren, be seated. The Grand Ceremonial Officers will rise. You are now assembled for investiture. Brethren, you will turn to the east. Right Worshipful Deputy Grand Master, the ceremonial Grand Officers are ready for investiture.
Thank you.
Right Worshipful Deputy Grand Master, I have the honour to present Right Worshipful Brother Peter Hetherington, past Deputy Grand Master, Grand Chaplain.
Right, Brother Hetherington, it gives me great pleasure to invest you as Grand Chaplain and to say thank you and congratulations for your ongoing service to Freemasonry.
Very Worshipful Brother Michael Sims, Grand Registrar.
Very Worshipful Brother Michael Sims, it gives me a great pleasure to reinvest you as Grand Register and to thank you for keeping us out of trouble.
Do my best.
Right Worshipful Brother Ernest Law, past Deputy Grand Master, Grand Secretary.
Right Worshipful Brother Ernest Law, it gives me great pleasure to reinvest you as Grand Secretary and to thank you for your ongoing and tireless work. You can have a hug.
It's too much of that. Very Worshipful Brother Philip Harrison, Grand Director of Ceremonies.
Very Worshipful Brother Philip Harrison, as is tradition in all constitutions, I invest you Grand Director of Ceremonies. And I wish you the very best and trust that you have a very happy and fruitful year.
I don't want to hug.
You weren't going to get one.
Very Worshipful Brother Alvin Dyson, Grand Organist.
Very Worshipful Alvin Dyson. Let me invest you first. I invest you as Grand Organist and thank you for the lovely music that you played this evening for both myself and my father. And I look forward to another wonderful year in your company. Thank you.
Very Worshipful Brother Todd Waitley, Deputy Grand Director of Ceremonies.
Very Worshipful Brother Todd Waitley, I invest you as Deputy Grand Director of Ceremonies and I trust you'll have a very happy year under the new Grand Director of Ceremonies. Well done, Tom.
Worshipful Brother Gary Castledine, Assistant Grand Director of Ceremonies.
Worshipful Brother Gary Castledine, it gives me a great pleasure to invest you as Assistant Grand Director of Ceremonies and to congratulate you and wish you the very best over the next 12 months and possibly the next 3 years.
Worshipful Brother Peter Feschak, Senior Grand Deacon.
Worshipful Brother Peter Feschak, which is a great deal of pleasure and emotion that I invest you, Senior Grand Deacon, congratulate you and wish you nothing but happiness over the next 12 months.
Worshipful Brother Andrew Orbin, Senior Grand Deacon.
Worshipful Brother Andrew Orbin, I invest you as Senior Grand Deacon, congratulate you and thank you very much for your ongoing service to Freemasonry. Have a great 12 months.
Worshipful Brother David Glynn, Senior Grand Deacon.
Worshipful Brother David Glynn, it is indeed a great pleasure to invest you as Senior Grand Deacon and wish you nothing but health and happiness over the next 12 months and many, many years in your company.
Worshipful Brother Scott Farragut, Junior Grand Deacon.
Worshipful Brother Scott Farragut, it gives me a great pleasure to invest you as Junior Grand Deacon and to congratulate you and wish you well for the next 12 months. Thanks, Scott.
Worshipful Brother Alan Taylor, Junior Grand Deacon, Grand Warden of Regalia.
Worshipful Brother Alan Taylor, I invest you as Junior Grand Deacon and Grand Warden of Regalia and congratulate you and thank you for making us look so resplendent this evening and for everything you continue to do for our Constitution. Thanks, Al.
Worshipful Brother Wayne Rowley, Junior Grand Deacon.
Worshipful Brother Wayne Rowley, I invest you as Junior Grand Deacon and thank you for your service to Freemasonry. Trust you'll have a wonderful 12 months. And now that you don't have that great big sword in your hands, I feel comfortable to come near you.
Grand Officers, you will salute the Grand Master with a sign of fidelity. Turn to the right and return to your seats and remain standing. All newly appointed and reappointed Grand Officers will rise.
Newly invested and reinvested Grand Officers, allow me, on behalf of the Grand Lodge of Western Australia and all those present, both family and friends, to congratulate you on your preferment. Our Grand Master has conferred this honour on each one of you, both in recognition of the work that you have done for our fraternity thus far and in anticipation of the further commitment you will make to your new or ongoing Masonic responsibilities. These responsibilities will be different for each one of you, and how you meet the challenges ahead will largely determine the success of our collective efforts, and in turn our ability to continue to advance the craft. Remember, the personal satisfaction you derive will be in proportion to the efforts you make while in office. Whilst each of us continues to invest time and energy in supporting Grand Lodge and its members, it is vital that we do not neglect the responsibilities we owe to our private and public avocations, and in particular, our families and loved ones who are represented here this evening. Their support and encouragement enables us to continue our Masonic journeys. It is they who made it possible for us to be here tonight. We need to remain ever mindful that as Grand Lodge officers, we are always part of the public face of Freemasonry. We should therefore always take pride in our appearance and behaviour, most especially when representing Grand Lodge or engaging in any Masonic activity, either within Western Australia or when travelling interstate or overseas. We should act with pride, dignity, and decorum. Enthusiasm is infectious. In leading by example, we will encourage others to perform at their best, and they will in turn achieve personal satisfaction and success, whilst at the same time promoting harmony and happiness. We should, however, temper our enthusiasm with economic and personal reality. We must realise that not all of us can take time off work or have the means to travel and participate in the wider Masonic experience. But we must also acknowledge that those brethren have their own ways of contributing to our collective success, and they should be encouraged and at all times applauded. It is beyond doubt that after a year together, we, the active members of the Grand Team, will make friendships which will be lifelong. The strength of those friendships will be forged through working together towards a common goal. We are all part of a team. While some of us are elected to rule and teach, all of us must submit to and obey our Grand Master, our Grand Lodge, and pledge ourselves to the principles and tenets of our beloved craft. If you have any concerns about your allotted duties, please ask a fellow or senior Grand Officer who will willingly offer guidance and instruction. I urge you to listen to and accept any guidance offered, remembering that counsel from senior and experienced brethren is counsel from those whose skillful hands have laid the foundation stones on which we stand today. Grand Officers, we are about to embark on a new adventure under the leadership of our new Grand Master, whose program of education and enjoyment will ensure that our beautiful craft will progress with profit and pleasure. On behalf of the newly invested and reinvested Grand Officers and myself, I pledge our allegiance and support to the Grand Master and trust that we will have an exciting and enjoyable 12 months, filled with new experiences, learning from each other, and forging the strongest bonds of friendship, which will become a shining example for all members of the Western Australian Constitution. Brethren, you will salute the most worshipful Grand Master with the sign of fidelity, taking your time from me.
Brethren, be seated.
Brother Grand Director of Ceremonies, you will proclaim the Grand Officers.
With the exception of the newly appointed and reappointed Grand Officers, all brethren below the rank of past Junior Grand Warden will rise. Very worshipful brethren, worshipful brethren, and brethren, I have been instructed to make proclamation. Therefore be it known that all those brethren whose names appear in the official list have this day been appointed and invested or reappointed and are hereby proclaimed Grand Officers of the Grand Lodge of Western Australia of ancient, free and accepted Masons for the ensuing 12 months. And I call upon you to salute them with grand honours 3 times, taking the time from the Assistant Grand Director of Ceremonies. Brethren, you will rise and acknowledge. Sign of fidelity. And be seated. All brethren will rise and join in singing the ode.
Grand Director of Ceremonies, you'll present to me Most Worshipful Brother Dr. William Gordon Babe.
Most worshipful Brother Dr. Babe, would you join me on the floor? Most worshipful Grand Master, I have the honour to present Most worshipful Brother Dr. William Gordon Babe.
I thought you nearly forgot his name then. Most worshipful Brother Babe, of the last 2 days, I have tried to convey to you what the members of your constitution feel about you. And this, I think, is the final recognition that we can give you this weekend to prove the love and affection they have for you and to mark that you're now a feather duster.
Thank you. Let go of it. Grandmaster, might I just dispense with tradition for a moment, give you a manly hug? Together? Together, if you like.
I don't know who's smiling more, you or Kelly.
We were tonight to have 4 presentations. Unfortunately, 2 of the brethren are too ill to receive their presentations this evening. The first was Right Worshipful Brother Duncan Chadbourne, who has received the Riley Medal. The Riley Medal I would just like to make mention of. To receive the Riley Medal, you have to be a past Deputy Grand Master in this constitution for 10 years. You have to have done service for Freemasonry, and it has to be passed by the Grand Master and the past Grand Masters. So it's a great honour to receive one. If you want to see what one looks like, Right Worshipful Brother Crisp has got one hanging around his neck just off to the right here. And the second one, which we have to mention, after many, many years of enormous service to this craft, Right Worshipful Brother Des Paul, who is receiving his Grand Master's Order of Merit. Grand Director of Ceremonies. In fact, immediate past Grand Director of Ceremonies. Would you present to me Brother Kevin Mackay?
Ah, okay. Just wait there a moment. No, stay up. Just wait there a moment, please. Thank you. Brother Kevin Mackay, would you join me? Most worshipful Brother Dr. Babe, I present Brother Kevin Mackay, Honorary Junior Grand Warden, Scotland.
Brother Mackay. We had a problem because we wanted to present you with something, but you're not a member of our constitution, and our constitution doesn't hold with honorary rank. But just a few minutes ago, my powers were well nigh absolute, so we made you an honorary past senior Grand Warden of this Grand Lodge. And I'm here to present the certificate. We have had a very long history, the Scottish Constitution, the English Constitution, and the early infancy of the West Australian Constitution. And I have a very beautiful letter at home written by Sir Gerard Smith to the Reverend Rowe, who was the District Grand Master of Scotland in the 1890s. And there's a whole page of the most beautiful Victorian English, absolutely filled with sarcasm and irony, because the two were obviously not on the same page. But over the years, we have come together and we are all great friends together, and we have blended our two constitutions into this state, and we also have the District Grand Master of the Goldfields here as well. And I would like to present to you this certificate to state that you are now an honorary past senior Grand Warden in the Grand Lodge of Western Australia.
Thank you very much.
Kevin.
This time, Grand Director of Ceremonies, will you please present to me the immediate past Grand Director of Ceremonies?
Most Worshipful Brother Dr. Babe, I present Very Worshipful Brother Andrew Balu Bates.
Therein lies a story.
I know that he's really
that he's not going to get
Michael
told.
Bates. Andrew, 3.5 years ago, I said to you, would you be my Grand Director for the Grand Installation? I think you said no initially, but we managed to talk you into it finally. I didn't realise that when you were going to go to you were going to commence your final year, you'd go to the doctor and he'd say, you're too ill, you better go to hospital and have a new knee put in, which then became somewhat complicated. And I think you've done incredibly well to have got all this band of fairly tarnished warriors together and made them put on a very, very polished spectacle today. But I thank you for the work that you've done, and I can give you your baton, which I'm sure that you are going to use for a long time in the future, because you will be used again and again and again. And I thank you.
Thank you. Most Worshipful Grand Master, distinguished brethren, ladies and gentlemen, Most Worshipful Brother Dr. William Gordon Babe. It'll be the last time I get to say that, so I thank you very much for the presentation of this baton. I also thank you for persuading me to take on the role 3.5 years ago. I've really enjoyed the last 3 years. It's been an amazing experience, met some amazing people, and we've had an amazing team of brethren working as the ceremonial teams over the last 3 years. Only the last year was my responsibility, but even so. I would also like to acknowledge all those brethren from the ceremonial team that have supported me throughout the year. Also those brethren that have worked behind the scenes, especially to put together this grand installation. They know who they are. I'm not going to name them because I'll forget a few if I do. But brethren, I salute you. I am forever in your debt. Thank you. I have one last favour to ask of everybody. Could you all please rise? And can you all please show your appreciation for our wonderful organist? Ladies, gentlemen and brethren, please be seated. Yeah, I know you've got one. Greetings. You've got to stand up again when you sit down. Greetings will be given by the Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of New Zealand, Most Worshipful Brother Mark Winger.
Most Worshipful Brother Peter Kirwan, Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Western Australia. On behalf of the Grand Lodges of New Zealand and the Australian states, I bring you hearty best wishes and warm fraternal greetings on the occasion of your installation as Grand Master. Let me first address a few comments to Most Worshipful Brother Bill Bay. I hadn't intended mentioning the fact that you were a New Zealander. It was unnecessary. Exactly. I didn't realise, however, that I had to bring my own haka party. I was delighted on this occasion to see that you had the Central Otago Maori Kapahaka assisting you, and I think the ladies and brethren should understand that the reason Most Worshipful Brother Bill Babe didn't join in the singing was that he was overdressed. Most Worshipful Brother Bill Babe, on behalf of the Grand Masters of the constitutions that I'm representing, can I say a big thank you to you and to Kelly for the way that the two of you have so bravely waved the banner of Western Australia on the international stage over the last 3 years. You've done so with dignity and with aplomb, and the pride that you have in Western Australia is quite apparent. So congratulations to the both of you. The Grand Masters have enjoyed your company and your good wit over the last 3 years. Most Worshipful, to you, I'm delighted to hear the comments you were making about enjoyment in Freemasonry. It's got to be an essential feature of all we do in our organisation. And I pray to the Most High that during your term of office, He will grant you good health, wisdom, and a good dollop of compassion to assist you in administering the Western Australia Grand Lodge. And at the end of your 3-year term, I trust that you and Lorraine will look back with pride on the achievements that you have made over your term, and importantly, that you both will look back with satisfaction at the enjoyment that you have derived through your term as Grand Master. Can I exhort you on behalf of the Grand Masters of our constitutions to continue to build on the collaboration and the cooperation that we enjoy and that has built over the last 3 years. The Grand Masters exchange ideas, exchange experiences, and it's through this that we learn in our own jurisdictions what will work and what won't work. So that collaboration has strengthened over the past 3 years, and I exhort you to continue to work with the sister constitutions to continue that strength, as that is where the future of Freemasonry across Australia and New Zealand will lie. And finally, I bring you greetings from the Grand Lodges of Australia and New Zealand, and I pray that until we meet again in 3 years' time on this formal occasion, your God will hold you safe in the palm of His hand.
The representatives of sister sovereign constitutions will rise. Greetings on behalf of all representatives will be given by Right Worshipful Brother Brian Crisp, holder of the Riley Medal, past Deputy Grand Master.
Most Worshipful Grand Master, had I been the representative of the Grand Lodge of Scotland, I would have said
It's been a brobrich moeilijk dichtenich and lang me a lamariek. But as I'm the representative of the Grand Lodge of Ireland, I can just give a toast to be sure, to be sure. We who are standing here represent but a few of the over 170 separate Grand Lodges spread over the 4 quarters of the globe. And we treasure our Freemasonry because it's encapsulated in the 133rd Psalm, which says how good and how pleasant it is for men to meet in harmony. We treasure our Freemasonry. It's one which has allowed us to pursue many interests, to aim to help people, and most importantly, in spite of our different nationalities and creeds and so on, we are able to meet in harmony and to do goodwill in order to overcome the evils and tribulations that this world is faced with at times. The needs of the world are still the same, the needs of affection, respect, openness, and treasured support. These things have been, they are now, and they will be in the future. And we pray to the Most High that we, as an organisation, will be able to do our best to alleviate that situation. And we have a question in front of us, and it's this, that if Freemasonry doesn't exist anymore, where in the future will people go, men go, who want to pursue the sorts of faiths and trusts and things that you yourself mentioned that you're hoping? Where would they go? So it's up to us to do something about it. And finally, in conclusion, on behalf of the representatives of the sister constitutions, we wish you well in the pursuit of the objectives you've set yourself.
Brethren, be seated. With the exception of the representatives of Sister Sovereign Constitution, all members of the WA Constitution will rise. Brethren, you will salute the representatives with grand honours 9 times, taking the time from the Assistant Grand Director of Ceremonies. All brethren of the West Australian Constitution will rise. Greetings will be conveyed by the Senior Grand Warden.
Brethren, you will salute the Most Worshipful Grand Master with a sign of fidelity. Grand Master, I now bring you fraternal greetings from all the members of your Grand Lodge, and congratulations on attaining the high office you have received this evening. Your term of office has started off in spectacular fashion, arranged by you, a fine tribute to your predecessor, who has given 3 years of very faithful, very useful service. Haka of the variety tonight was interesting in places quite gentle. The one we usually see is a rather more vigorous one that has a clear message, if education is one of our pillars, and that is, guys, the next 80 minutes are gonna hurt. Most Worshipful Brother Babe, thank you very much for the service that you have delivered the brethren in the field. We have moved through the various lodges, country and city, and your humorous, gentle approach has endeared you to all your brethren, and I think you will have a lasting place in our memories for the friendships that you have generated amongst the brethren. I was going to wish you and Kelly a happy retirement, but the other day we found out that you have a 60 square metre shed in the backyard with some Mercedes-Benz in need of a bit of attention. So, Kelly, when he's not in the surgery, you'll find him in the shed. Most worshipful Brother Kirwan, we are looking forward to 3 years of guidance and leadership from you. You have already set down the landmarks of where you want to go and what you want to do. You have, as the Deputy Grand Master said, the full loyalty and support of all your officers, and I'm sure you, like Most Worshipful Brother Babe, have been through the various lodges in the Constitution, and in similar fashion, with a humour, sometimes at the expense of your Grand Directors of Ceremonies, but then you were one yourself, so you know what they're like. Wind them up and let them go. But we have also enjoyed your company, and we know that the next 3 years are going to be very enjoyable. We salute you. Brethren, you will salute the Most Worshipful Grand Master with the sign of fidelity and be seated, taking the time from the Grand Director of Ceremonies.
Be seated, brethren.
Most Worshipful Brother Winger, Grand Master of New Zealand, Right Worshipful Brother Crisp, Right Worshipful Brother Senior Grand Warden, I will thank you all together for those greetings. Most Worshipful Brother Winger mentioned the pride to develop and work with over the next 3 years, and along with the comments and support I have from the other two speakers, I can assure you we already have the pride, especially from the brethren in this room. And as our Senior Warden said, I've set the parameters for the leadership, but I won't be achieving anything. We will be achieving something over the next 3 years. I can't do it alone, and I'm sure our newly invested brethren and the rest of the members of our Constitution present will all assist us to achieve great heights to ensure that Freemasonry is expected to hold within our community and continue to build on the foundations that Most Worshipful Brother Babe has set us. And you can see the love and affection we have for him. I don't think I'll be able to mirror that. Being a past Grand Director, apparently I don't have any love and affection. Lorraine might disagree with that, hopefully. But thank you, Most Worshipful Brother Winger, Right Worshipful Brother Crisp, and Brother Senior Warden for those greetings. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for attending today. Assist me to close this Grand Lodge. Brother Grand Pursuivant, where is your situation in Grand Lodge?
Within the inner porch of Grand Lodge, Most Worshipful Grand Master.
What is your duty?
To give a due report of all approaching brethren, to see that they are properly clothed and ranged under their respective banners.
Are they so placed?
To the best of my knowledge, Most Worshipful Grand Master.
Where is the situation of the Junior Grand Warden?
Master.
Right Worshipful Brother Junior Grand Warden. Your duty. So, who do you represent?
Boaz, the Prince of the People on Mount Tabor.
Where is the situation of the Right Worshipful Brother Senior Grand Warden?
In the West, Most Worshipful Grand Master.
Right Worshipful Senior Grand Warden. Whom do you represent?
Jarkin, the Assistant High Priest on Mount Sinai.
Where is the situation of the Deputy Grand Master?
At the right of the Most Worshipful Grand Master.
Right Worshipful Deputy Grand Master. Whom do you represent?
Hiram Abiff, the Prince of Architects.
What is your duty?
To lay schemes, draw designs, and assist the Most Worshipful Grand Master in the execution of the work.
Where is the situation of the Most Worshipful Grand Master?
In the East Most Worshipful Grand Master.
Who does he represent?
The Royal Solomon.
Then, brethren, after the Grand Chaplain has invoked the blessing of the Most High, I will, in the name of the Royal Solomon, declare this Grand Lodge closed in ample form.
Before this Grand Lodge is closed, let us with all reverence and humility express our gratitude to the great architect of the universe. May his blessings continue to be with us throughout eternity. So mote it be.
So.
Brethren, in the name of the Royal Solomon, I declare this Grand Lodge closed in ample form.
Brethren, you will join in singing the closing ode. Ladies, gentlemen, and brethren, while the Most Worshipful Grand Master, the past Grand Masters, the leaders of visiting delegations, the Deputy Grand Master, the past Deputy Grand Masters, senior members of visiting delegations, and the Grand Wardens retire, all please rise. The brethren will adopt the sign of fidelity. Master, past Grand Masters, leaders of visiting delegations, Deputy Grand Master, past Deputy Grand Masters, senior members of visiting delegations, Grand Wardens, ladies, gentlemen and brethren, thank you and good night. May your God go with you.